Hallo und herzlich willkommen bei Whisky.de, dem Treffpunkt feiner Geister. Und heute bin ich wieder in den Lowlands, meine schöne Lowland-Tour. Und zwar bei einer jüngeren Brennerei, InchDairnie. Die Brennerei ist gegründet worden 2011, aber da ist nicht so viel passiert, denn sie haben erst das ganze Paperwork ausgefüllt und 2013 wurden dann die Hektar an Land gekauft für die Fläche der Brennerei. Und 2014 im Juli gab es dann den Baubeginn. Also hier wurde angefangen zu bauen und im nächsten Jahr, im Dezember 2015, haben sie schon mit der Produktion angefangen. Also sie waren richtig schnell. 1,5 Jahre, um eine Brennerei aufzubauen, ist richtig, richtig flott. Das folgende Jahr drauf haben sie dann angefangen mit dem Single Malt. Also sie haben erstmal noch ein bisschen für andere produziert, aber dann im gleichen Folgejahr haben sie mit ihrem Single Malt angefangen. Und dann kam lange Jahre nichts. Hier haben sie eine schöne Statue dafür gemacht, die dann repräsentiert, was sie dann eben für eine Zutat während den Jahren gehabt haben. Das ist die Zeit. Oben ist er noch nicht braun, unten ist der Whisky dann braun, was er die Farbe über die Zeit aufnimmt. Schöne Geschichte. Gut, nach einer langen Zeit, dann eben in 2023, sind sie rausgekommen mit ihrem ersten Whisky. Und ich sage Whisky und nicht Single Malt, weil es nämlich er ist schon aus Malz gemacht, aber es war Roggenmalz. Sie haben gesagt, wir sind so innovativ, so neu, wir bringen mal was anderes raus und haben gesagt, wir bringen den RyeLaw raus, also einen Roggenwhisky. Problem ist nur ein bisschen, es gibt keine so Gesetzgebung in Schottland für einen Roggenwhisky, also haben sie ihn einfach RyeLaw genannt und sich tendenziell im Grunde eigentlich an die amerikanischen Regeln gehalten, was auch kein Problem mit den schottischen Regeln ist. Und ja, das war dann der RyeLaw. Im Jahr drauf haben sie dann ihren ersten 8-jährigen eigenen getorften Whisky rausgebracht. Und ja, jetzt gehen wir mal in die Brennerei und schauen uns, wie das Ganze produziert wird. Ja, wir sehen hier schon ein sehr moderner Prozess, sehr effizient. Aber lass uns am Anfang beginnen. Und wir haben ganz normal Malz. Sie könnten auch einfach nur Korn verwenden, einfach nur Getreide verwenden, aber sie sind eine Single Malt Brennerei, also verwenden sie Malz. Das Malz kommt rein, wird nicht in eine Rollenmühle geschrotet, sondern hier wird es mit einer Hammermühle richtig fein gemahlen. Und am Ende kommt wirklich ein Mehl raus, was so fein ist, dass man eigentlich damit backen könnte. Das wollen sie natürlich nicht. Sie wollen natürlich ein schönes Mash am Ende haben. Und was sie dann machen, sie müssen ein bisschen mehr Wasser verwenden, denn wenn man es feiner malt, würde dort bei der normalen Menge Wasser ein Teig rauskommen. Also setzen sie Wasser hinzu, so lang, bis wir so eine richtig schöne Suppe bekommen. Und die Suppe hat natürlich Stückchen drin. Die wird gekocht und da lösen sich dann alle Zucker und alle Stärke raus, wird von den Enzymen dann aufgespalten, vom Malz in die Maltose, dem Zucker des Malzes, und der ist dann sehr, sehr schön zum Fermentieren. Nur leider, was nicht so schön zum Fermentieren ist, ist die ganzen anderen Feststoffe, die da noch drin sind, und die müssen rausgefiltert werden. Wie funktioniert das? Wir haben hier einen großen Mashfilter. Eigentlich ist er ein kleiner Mashfilter, aber es ist eine große Maschine. Die werden normalerweise noch ein bisschen größer gebaut. Hier haben wir nur 45 Stufen, also 45 Membranen, bei denen dann die Feststoffe rausgefiltert werden. Und am Ende haben wir dann so eine klare Flüssigkeit wie diese hier. Und die ist dann richtig schön zuckrig, ohne feste Bestandteile und kann super weiterverarbeitet werden für die Alkoholproduktion. Die Fermentation bei InchDairnie ist relativ speziell, und da wir mehrere Produkte haben, es wird ja auch ein Roggenwhisky hergestellt aus Roggenmalz, und wir haben 7 Fermentations-Tanks außerhalb, also die Washbags. Jedoch sind die Washbags aus rostfreiem Stahl und haben keinen Wassermantel, also keine Temperaturkontrolle, und das ist ein Rezept für große Temperaturschwankungen zwischen den Jahreszeiten. Und das hat man bei InchDairnie nicht in Kauf genommen, sondern mit eingeplant. Wo man sich gesagt hat, okay, pass auf, wir haben verschiedene Fermentationsdauern, wir haben verschiedene Temperaturen und wir nutzen auch noch verschiedene Hefen, um verschiedene Geschmäcker herzustellen. Also haben sie sich gesagt, wir machen 4 verschiedene Rezepte, und wir haben Frühling, Sommer, Herbst und Winter. Und im Sommer ist das Ganze natürlich, es fermentiert sehr, sehr schnell, ist sehr, sehr warm. Sie haben eine Möglichkeit, so ein bisschen Temperaturkontrolle reinzubringen. Wenn es wirklich warm ist, können Sie noch ein bisschen kaltes Wasser hinterher schütten. Das geht, also wenn man dann irgendwo sagt, okay, das ist jetzt kurz irgendwie vor Exodus, wenn es wirklich zu warm wird, dass Hefe stirbt oder solche Geschichten, da kann man noch ein bisschen Wasser hinzufügen. Aber am Ende kommen wir hier mit 4 verschiedenen Produkten allein für den Gersten-Single Malt raus und natürlich für die anderen Produkte, die sie auch noch produzieren, viele davon noch experimentell, denn sie sind ja eine jüngere Brennerei, kommen hier raus. Also eine große Komplexität. Und jetzt gucken wir mal rein, wie das Ganze dann in der Destillation weitergeht. Hinter mir sind die Pot Stills. Die Wash Still hat 18.000 Liter und die Spirit 11.000. Und sie haben 2022 diese Stills neu bekommen. Die alten Stills sind von 2014, sind aber genau baugleich. Und übrigens italienische Brennblasen. Und ja, die Italiener sind auf dem Vormarsch. Die bauen gerne mal jetzt, wir haben sehr viel in Irland gesehen, aber auch in Schottland bauen sie mittlerweile auch Pot Stills. Naja, weil Foresize relativ die Auftragsbücher voll hat und man sehr lang warten muss. Wir hatten ja gelernt, dass wir 4 verschiedene Fermentationen haben. Und was wir dann auch noch brauchen, ist die richtige Destillation für diese Fermentationsprodukte. Für das richtige Wash brauchen wir jetzt die richtigen Cutting Points und Temperatures. Ja, und da gibt es dann verschiedene Einstellungen. Und am Ende bekommen wir einen New Make, der eine gewisse Charakter hat. Das ist im Frühling ist er grasig, im Sommer ist er fruchtig, im Herbst ist er malzig und im Winter ist er eher kräftig, würzig. Sehr, sehr interessant, dass man dann 4 verschiedene Destillate hat, die man dann später im Warehouse auch noch managen muss. Aber da kommen wir später dazu. Was auch noch sehr interessant ist, sehr moderne Anlage. Wir haben 2 Kondensatoren. Einer, der es erstmal so runterkondensiert, dass man den Hauptteil der Energie rausnimmt und schön heißes Wasser bekommt, was man dann wieder verwenden kann in irgendwelchen anderen Prozessen oder sowas. Und auf den zweiten, da geht man dann runter, ganz kühl, so wie man es braucht, dass man das Fass abfüllen kann. Weiter geht es noch. Wir haben innerhalb der Brennblasen keinerlei Heizsystem. Es gibt kein Gas, es gibt keine Dampfspindeln, es gibt keine Wärmetauscher, denn der Wärmetauscher der Brennblase ist außerhalb der Brennblase. Wir erhitzen das Wash außerhalb der Brennblase und zirkulieren es mit der Brennblase kontinuierlich. Das heißt, das Wash innerhalb der Brennblase geht immer raus in den Wärmetauscher, wieder rein, sehr heiß, kocht dort, geht wieder raus und wieder rein. Kontinuierliches Ding, auch in der Spirit Still. Die anderen Stills waren ja für die Gerste und wir kennen trotzdem, bei InchDairnie gibt es ja auch den RyeLaw und der wird hier in dieser Lommen Still hergestellt. Und wie das Ganze funktioniert ist, wir haben im Grunde, sieht es aus wie eine Pot Still, aber sie ist oben irgendwie sehr dick. Und da würde man denken, ja, macht einen ziemlich rassigen Malt oder einen ziemlich rassigen Brand, weil wir reden ja hier nicht über, ja, es ist Malz, aber es ist kein Gerstenmalz, ja, wir reden über einen rassigen Roggen, aber der ist nicht leer. Hier in dieser Lommen Still sind nämlich Ebenen drin, 6 Ebenen, auf denen dann so Glocken drauf sind und die sind sehr, sehr ähnlich zu der fraktionellen Destillation, zu Column Stills. Und hier wird der Alkohol sehr, sehr schön getrennt, sehr, sehr schöner, feiner Brand, wo man dann richtig schön eben noch die Aromen einstellen kann, wie sie ihn für den Roggenwhisky, den Rye, haben wollen.
Ja, mein Lieblingsteil der Brennerei, das Lagerhaus. Oh, riecht wieder super nach Whisky. Und ja, sie haben 16 Lagerhäuser, insgesamt 170.000 Fässer hier vor Ort. Und hinter mir sieht man natürlich, ich bin irgendwo hier im Kinglassie-Teil, aber es wird auch noch andere Marken bei ihnen gelagert und sogar auch noch ein paar fremde Fässer, die dann hier gelagert werden können. Aber der Hauptteil ist doch ihr eigenes Zeug. Es sind 16 Lagerhäuser, wobei wir noch ein weiteres haben. Das ist so ein kleines Hobbitloch, wo halt ein kleines Dunnage Warehouse sich dahinter verbirgt. Und da gibt es dann den Cask Club, wo dann so besondere Mitglieder einzelne Fässer sich kaufen können. Ja, aber wir konzentrieren uns mal auf die Hauptmarken von InchDairnie und Kinglassie. Und hier im Lagerhaus, die haben eine große Variation. Hier hinten sieht man eine ganze Menge amerikanische Bourbonfässer. Wir haben Sherryfässer, Sherry Hogsheads. Wir haben Weinfässer und unter den Weinfässern und den Sherryfässern Amontillado, wie man sie alle kennt. Also eine ganz große Variation. Und da beginnt dann die Schwierigkeit. Wir haben ja jetzt schon gelernt, wir haben 4 verschiedene New Make, die wir alle tracken müssen. Es gibt natürlich auch mal Nicht-Gerste hin und wieder. Und dann gibt es jetzt noch die ganzen verschiedenen Fässer. Deswegen, ja, mit dieser Menge an Fässern kommt man nur noch mit einem Computer klar, wo man dann genau weiß, wo welches Fass ist. Und diese Fässer werden dann eben vom Computer ausgewählt, wo man sagt, ja, jetzt hätte ich gerne mal dieses Fass. Und daraus würde ich dann gerne mal einen Whisky machen. Auch sehr, sehr speziell ist, die Fässer haben natürlich ein bisschen mehr Anforderungen, wenn man die 8 hochlagert. Da merkt man dann schon bei manchen Fässern, dass die dann unten schon einen gewissen Druck haben. Also das ist schon spannend. Also 8 Fässer hoch sieht man nicht alle Tage. Ja. Und so wird dann eben noch der Whisky bei InchDairnie gelagert. Und jetzt probieren wir das Ganze mal in einem kleinen Interview.
Ja, das war's wieder mit der Produktion und jetzt geht's wieder weiter mit einem kleinen Interview. So I'm sitting here with Scott Snedden.
Yes.
11 years with the company, 20 years of experience with making whiskey and master distiller here. So very knowledgeable guy. Thank you for having us.
No, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot in the distillery and I'm really excited because you're a little bit different to all of that. So what are we having today?
So what we've got here is at the moment we've got 2 brands, which is quite different in the normal of a distillery. And in front of us, it's not even what you would call a standard single malt. What we have here is our inaugural release of our RyeLaw from 2017. And then last year we launched our 2018 version of that. And then next to it, I've got Kinglassie. Kinglassie is our peated single malt. And in this bottle here is our double matured. So it's 8 years old, 4 years in an ex-bourbon cask, and then 4 years in a Amontillado seasoned cask. And then at the very end in the black bottle is the Kinglassie Raw, which is 8 years in the ex-bourbon cask.
I'm really excited because I've tried a lot of rye, but I've never tried a Scottish rye.
Well, I'm really looking forward to
I'm
sampling
really excited. I do like my ryes.
Well, it's very interesting.
But I mean, the ryes that I've tried are always like virgin cask, American oak, stored in a rickety warehouse with a lot of temperature differences.
Yes, and you've been around the distillery, so by having the equipment that we have here, we can make whiskey with different grains. We're not constrained by only using malted barley. So when we were looking at making whiskey from different grains, you go around looking in the world, and as you highlighted yourself, people think of rye whiskey, they think of America.
Yeah.
And that was the first starting point. So by learning on how rye is made in America, we find that there is some clear definitions that have to be met in order to be called a rye whiskey in America. So that was our starting point, because there's no guidance, there's no book in making rye whiskey in Scotland, because it tended not to be done. So for us, the 3K parameters was it had to have a minimum of 51% rye, it had to be put into a cask at less than 63%, and that cask had to be virgin oak. They were the only three.
Oh, you're doing virgin oak?
So they were the only 3 criteria. So being a Scotch distillery, we've taken the concept of that American rye and giving it a contemporary Scottish twist. So what I mean by that is
using used cask.
So the rye that we use is malted.
Okay, you're doing malted
rye.
Okay.
So what we have done is we use a mixed mash bill, where we take malted rye at 53%, and we mix the grain with 47% malted barley.
Okay, gives you a lot of enzymes. And
Yep, and so they get mixed in our batch bin that you saw today.
Is it difficult to process because of, the rye is... I know that rye is difficult to process.
So rye is difficult in 2 fronts. When we were talking to people that we were going to be making rye whiskey, the first thing they said is,
Don't.
it'll stick. It sticks to the mash tun. And we were like, that's okay because we don't have a mash tun, we've got a mash filter. The mash filter, mashing is a two-stage process. You've got the conversion of your starch to sugars, and then you've got the filtration of your solids from your liquids. We do that in 2 stages, as you saw today. We've got the mash conversion vessel, and then we've got the filter. In the mash conversion vessel, we can control the temperature within the vessel. So the rye grain has a high level of beta-glucans, but it also has the enzyme beta-glucanase within the corn itself. But what happens is that gets denatured above about 50, 55 degrees. So there is other distilleries in Scotland that have been experimenting with rye, but had found that when they put it into the mash tun, it turned into wallpaper paste. It was very thick, and
God.
the liquid would not, the solids would not let the liquid come out. The wort was being held by the solids. So when we did it, we mashed in at a lower temperature, and what we did is we can slowly heat up the mash, and that allows the beta-glucanase to be activated to get some of the breakdown of the beta-glucans. Then we get the salification and breakdown of the starch at the above 63.5 degrees. So the vessel for us does the 2 stages of that was required.
Okay, quite a long mashing then.
So a long mashing, and even with our mash filter, a normal mash from start to finish takes us about 5 hours. But when we started doing the rye to start with, that went up to 8, then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, sometimes even 15 hours for a single mash.
Ooh, okay.
Even with the equipment, it still holds us. Now, the products we've got here, the rye from here was from the Black Isle, and it's
So it's Scottish rye.
so it's Scottish rye. And the second concern that people said is that it foams like mad. So what we did is, our mashing process is we don't do 1 mash to 1 washback. We do 4 mashes to 1 washback.
Oh, okay.
So the first time we did the rye, we put 1 mash into the washback. There's a lot of room, and after about 12, 16 hours, the assistant manager at the time, he went on top of the washback to check it. And the reason why he went up, because it was the middle of winter and I wasn't going up, and there was no activity. It looked like nothing. So we thought, okay. So the next mash, we put 2 mashes into the washback. Did the same thing. Didn't look like anything. The next day we put 3. Still nothing. And by this point, mash 1 is nearly done. We do a minimum of 50 hours fermentation. So after 50 hours of fermentation, we went in and we took a sample, and we had conversion. A normal mash for us is about 9.5 to 10% alcohol. For the rye, we were getting 7.5.
Okay.
So
Bit
lower
weak.
than what we got, but some activity nonetheless. So that gave us the confidence that we could then put our standard 4 mashes into the washback without having any trouble with the foam. Now this, not having the foam troubled us, and by sheer chance, a few months later, a grain merchant who knows Ian Palmer, the original managing director and founder, was coming past the distillery, and he happened to pop in for a coffee. And it was during that conversation we were talking about we're using a rye. And he said, what variety are you using? And the variety for these is called Magnifico. What a great name for a product, Magnifico.
Magnifico.
And he says, yeah, that's the non-foaming variety.
Oh, by chance you took the non-foaming.
So by chance, we had chosen the non-foaming variety because the rye grain in the UK has got 2 uses. A big use is for making rye vita bread, and for that version they need the foaming variety.
Okay.
The other use is in anaerobic digestion, and what happens is they allow the crop to grow to the green stage just before it starts maturing and getting the seeds. They would then chop that down, and then that would go into an anaerobic digester to be the feedstock for the biomass to convert it into biomethane.
Okay.
And that's why we got the grain for the original one,
okay.
because it was earmarked for a bioplant where the commissioning overran, so they didn't need the grain at that point. So we got the grain as a result of that.
Okay, nice. So I'm really excited. And is it used cask or Scottish?
So
or is it American?
So
with
what we
fresh
have
cask?
here is we've got virgin oak casks
You did virgin, okay?
from the Ozark region of America.
Okay.
And we chose, where do you choose? We choose what was available at the time. So for this one, it's here. So
It is sweet and
cheers.
cheers.
So cheers. And so, like you said, on the
is.
nose. So you've got experience of American rye. I've also got experience of American rye. So by malting the rye and by adding malted barley, we've tempered down that quite intensity that you associate with it. There's a lot of the spice and
It does have a bit of that pine note, that freshness.
Yeah.
I didn't get much of the spiciness. I think there's a bit of a spice.
There's a little bit of spice, just
cloves
yeah.
and
Yep.
rye bread, but it's not as dominant as with the Americans. And the sweetness is pretty good.
Because what we were trying to do is we want to create a rye drink for whiskey drinkers. So an easy Scottish sipping rye. So that's why the process we do now. One of the other points to make in achieving this is we followed the principles of double distillation. But the first distillation we used the wash still, the second distillation we used the Loman still. So the Loman still with the plates in the neck gives us a lot of reflux. So again, that's tempering down the intensity of the distillate. So that mixed with the American virgin oak cask, I think we've achieved what we set out to do, a nice sipping rye.
Yeah, Sludgy?
Sludgy. So you get that lovely sweetness, you're getting vanilla, you're getting caramel, and then you're getting the lovely spiciness just on the side of your
A lot
tongue.
more spiciness than in the nose.
Yes, it's like
a little bit of a glowing sensation as well. All around accompanied with a good amount of sweetness, a good amount of virgin oak character, let's call it that way. Vanilla, caramel, all the nice oak stuff.
And there is a presence of the wood. There's a very subtle dryness from the wood, just to show that that's the American virgin oak. But so this when we released it was 5 years old, and at the time the concern was we don't have any standard or any no. This is the oldest that we had, and the concern was is that the very early on. The spirit is doing all the extractives in the cask, so you're getting all the colour, all that vanilla and caramel, and it's getting drawn into the spirit. You're getting some of the oxidation as well that irons out the edges of the distillate, but the concern is that if we leave it longer, are we going to get too much of the wood influence impacting on it? So that's why we released it as a 5-year-old, but given the starting point of the distillate and the use of the virgin oak cask, I think we came out with a really...
It was really nice. From a little bit of a question from me, I mean, you are a bit further away from what we know as Scotch. Is it, I mean, you have used all of the malt, you have used the pot stills. Is it still a single malt? Or?
No, it's not a single malt, it's called a single grain.
It's a single grain?
Yeah, so
okay.
it's a...
Even though it's 100% malt?
It was not 100% malted barley.
Oh, it's not 100% malted barley.
So that's the difference. So to be 100% malt, it has to be 100% malted barley.
Oh, okay.
So because it has 53% malted rye, even though it's malted rye, that then is a grain whiskey. And because it's a...
Everything that's not malted barley is grain.
Yeah, basically.
Basically.
And that's been...
but except from that you have to call it a grain, the SWA is happy with you? Or are they...
Yeah, I mean, So what happened is, when we were investigating rye grain, there was a 1908 Royal Commission, and in the 1908 Royal Commission there was sheriffs of the Crown who would go around all the distilleries and interview and speak to either the owners or the distillery manager, and that is an actual record, and in that record it clearly states that there was rye grain being stored in the silos of whiskey distilleries. So we could then demonstrate that rye as a grain had been used in making whiskey.
Oh, okay.
but there was nothing detailed in saying how it was used. So that's why the inspiration
Yeah.
then came.
Probably they spiced in a little bit of the grain because of the stickiness of the situation.
It could be it was done in that might be they used a smaller portion of the rye than we used, but that's why we went to the guidelines for American rye that stipulated a minimum of 51%
Yeah.
rye, and that's the result.
It definitely tastes like a rye. Yeah. So what's the difference between the first one and the second
So
one? Because the second one is also a RyeLaw.
Yes, so this is, we call this one the 2017 vintage, and this one is the 2018 vintage. And the difference being is when we got the grain for the first vintage, we had enough for 2 years worth. So this is using the exact same grain that was used in the initial distillate. And we followed the exact same principles that we had done for the first year. And the only difference being is that the virgin oak that we used was from the Appalachian forest of America, not from the Ozark. So
The Appalachian's a bit more to the ocean, the Ozarks
yes,
are a bit
exactly.
inland, right?
So what we did is we put it in, and as it was maturing, we were finding that there was subtle differences in the flavour and the nosing than what we'd done in the first year. And the confidence that we had with the first batch meant that this time round it is now 6 years old. So it's one we've had the confidence that it could go that one more year. So Slange, I would like your view on what you think is the difference between on the nose and on the taste. I don't want to.
It's not as sweet as the first one. It's more mature. It has a bit more oaky texture, an oaky thing in it. In terms of the spiciness, I would say similar. I would say similar with that.
But that's the key. The key difference we found is that there's not as much of the caramel and vanilla presence that there was in the first one.
Yeah, it's a bit. I would have guessed more like maybe more second fill than first fill.
But again, virgin oak.
But it feels like
Yes.
there's not as virgin, straightforward additive. I like it. I'm excited about the taste.
No, so
Slange.
Sanjay.
I think it's a bit. Okay. It starts off milder, and then kicks you with the spices again. A lot of spices.
So the spice comes in. So what my view is that
Bit more black pepper though.
the first cask, the vanilla and caramel are a very prominent flavour, which means that the wood and the spice from the rye are a little bit more down. By reducing the vanilla and caramel content and effect, it's allowing the rye spice and the wood, I think, to be more prevalent.
Yeah, and it has that freshness, that pine needle freshness, resin, maybe a bit of spearmint in there. So it's strange that this is also a what do you call it, virgin oak, because I would have guessed not to be a virgin oak.
Yep.
If it was a blind tasting.
And that is just showcasing that by, in this instance, changing the cask type, we're bringing the liquid into a completely different light. And when you introduce a new product, rye whiskey in Scotland, what's that? Nobody knows what it is. And the first one is more attuned to the sweetness and the spices present, but a little bit more subdued. The bourbon whiskey drinkers or malt whiskey drinkers, it's a natural or a good introduction, and they understand it. With the second vintage, those that are more established in the more dominant flavours of malt whiskey, but also those that are more into American rye, they find that this to be more in line with what they expect it to be. So by changing the wood, we've got different proportions of flavours coming out.
Yeah. So very nice. I really like that someone did a Scotch rye, but I don't think you're going to get that many followers because of pretty much everybody does the traditional mash tun, and I don't think they can handle it.
There is some. I mean, the Borders Distillery have done some trialling with rye. So is Bruichladdich. Bruichladdich and their Victorian tumbler mash tun. They've done rye, and they've released it. Diageo, they've got a big, huge grain distillery nearby.
I mean,
so
there are tons of them who said, "Oh, we Manchurian rye cast that was a cool thing," but making really a rye is just something very interesting. But I've seen the whole distillery, and you have quite a different process. Let's take out the mash filter and stuff, even though that's probably also more environmentally friendly and efficient. The whole distilling, you kind of, do you lose energy or do you gain energy?
Yeah, so the distilling is both an energy efficient mechanism, but also a flavour mechanism. So most distilleries, the fundamentals of making whiskey is you boil up the beer and you then collect the vapour. So in a traditional distillery, that would be done in a big, huge worm tub, where all that energy you've put into the vapour you just lose again. More modern distilleries then use shell and tube condensers, where you're putting warm water through it, so you're recovering some of that energy back. We've gone a little bit further, so we've got 2 condensers, and the process, we define it as being TVR, which stands for thermal vapour recompression, which in simple layman's terms, the first condenser, we use hot condensate as the liquid going through the tubes rather than being warm water. And we then collect that hot condensate, we put it under a vacuum, and that turns it into steam, and that steam goes back into the process. So by doing that process, that allows us to reclaim the energy back directly into the process. The second condenser, we use warm water and we get hot water, and we use that hot water in the mashing process. So collectively, we're using about 30% less energy than a similar sized traditional distillery. But equally, that's the energy side. From a flavour side, we've got 2 copper condensers. So we have a lot of copper contact. So that does have an impact on the flavour of our new distillate.
Okay, so you're really not that sulfury and not that really marine flavours.
Yes,
but you are really, let's say, pure or refined, I would say.
I would say I think by removing those sulfury notes, we've got when I'm doing the spirit, we have elements of fruits and floral notes. We've also got some malt flavours coming through, and also our spirit's got quite a wide breadth of flavour. It's quite a good complex flavour, and that's through the mashing process, the fermentation process, but also the distillation process, all play a part in forming that distillate.
Okay, very nice. So I really like it. It looks a bit more complicated, but I think it's really worth it. 30%, that's a huge deal when there's a lot of energy going into that distilling.
Well, as a distiller, your second biggest cost to production is your energy.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
By saving on the energy there, that enables us to do these fun things.
It's not just environmentally friendly, it's also cheaper. Yeah. And good that it works with your style of whiskey and the flavour as well.
So the third one here is our first single malt whiskey.
Okay.
But
nice.
It's not the traditional introduction of single malt whiskey. So what we have is our Kinglassie as our brand of peated single malt whiskey.
So how much peat are we talking about?
So in the malt, it is 50 ppm parts per million of phenols. But we're not we don't say we're in an island. We're on the mainland of Scotland. So we use mainland peat. So the mainland peat derives from a location near Aberdeen, in the north of Scotland, and it's different in the type of peat. So peat is basically a breakdown of the old vegetative state built up over a period of time. And in Islay, there's no trees, so it tends to be more vegetarian. It's quite intense, quite tightly packed, and the influence of the sea does have an impact on it. With mainland peat, it's more smoke, not the same heavy medicinalness you can associate with Islay. So for the Kinglassie that I've got here, it's 8 years old. It's spent 4 years in ex-bourbon casks, but then a further 4 years in Amontillado seasoned casks. So it's 8 years old.
The Amontillado is the like medium sweet one, right?
Yes. So the Amontillado for me is a loveliness. What always come out of it is you get less of the Christmas cake and more of the nuttiness coming through in the Amontillado, in my view. So it's an Amontillado seasons cask. The casks, we chose American virgin oak as the starting point. It's seasoned in the hot Spanish sun for 2 years. It is then formed into a cask. It's seasoned with Amontillado wine for a year, and then they come to us and we've filled the spirit straight into them. We don't call it a sherry. That's why we've defined it as being Amontillado, because it's not in the region of Jerez. We've gone out of Jerez into the region of Montilla, and we felt that the quality of the product there was a little bit more attuned for what we were looking for.
Quite a tough range. Rye and smoky, 50 ppm.
Yes, by being a new distillery, we could quite easily have followed the same route that everybody else was doing and released a single malt at 3 years or 4 years or 5 years.
The thing is, they sound tough. I mean, the first two were really drinkable.
Yeah, I mean, with a peated whiskey, you can release it a little bit younger. So that's why it's an 8 years old. But the concept is, we don't do things by half. No, the RyeLaw was taking the concept of rye and giving it a contemporary twist. The peat here was, when people drink peated whiskey, it's a very divisive drink. You either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
And that's because the flavours are quite intense. So it's quite, define it as, a lot of one say it's quite a monster. So for the concept here, it was who said that peat had to be a monster. What I mean by that is peated whiskey can be accessible, that not that intensity, but the smokiness to it. And by using the main that peat, it gives me access to that smokiness, but not the intensity.
In terms of your fermentation and distilling, is that a mixture of the different fermentation seasons, or is that?
So this one here, the Kinglassie we do in the winter, and we only do Kinglassie in the winter time.
So it's more of the,
and we do,
was a heavy one?
Yep, so we do it for 1 week in December, and for that we use heavily peated Fife grown barley, and we also use a combination of liquid yeast and dried yeast, because the dried yeast we want to expand on the phenolics flavouring within it. So that's again a mixture of different yeasts. And then the cut points, we've reduced the cut points a little from our standard distillate, just to try and get more of those phenolic compounds, but not too much, as I said. We want this to be, you know, it's peated, but not intensely peated.
Okay,
so,
let's try.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Okay.
So on the nose, there's a very subtle indication that what's to come, but it's not your intensity. It's a very, there's a little of smoke, just a little puff of smoke, just in the periphery in my nose. Just a subtle sign of what's to come. But without knowing that I'd said it's a peated whiskey, you'd probably never know it's a peated whiskey.
It has a very slight peat note.
But very subtle, just in the background.
I like it. It's a dry, but a little bit of a hay and grassy kind of thing going on. And a little bit of a, I don't know, fruitiness, maybe.
No, there is. I mean, the distillate is got a lot of fruit, and then the smoke is in the background. It's interesting you said the nuttiness. The nuttiness is, I get, derived purely from the Amontillado, and that's sitting there as well.
Oh yeah, I'd like to try it. So, cheers.
So, cheers. Now you know that it's a peat. But
it's a peat. It's a peated.
But it's not a in-your-face peat. I find that the peat intends to just comes in and then comes in, but then on the mouthfeel is lovely chewiness. There's tobacco, and then there's when you taste, it's like the texture of velvet.
Yeah,
just there in the
tobacco. I would even say not cigarette or cigar, but pipe tobacco.
Yes,
I would say
that's
a little bit of a leathery note.
Yes.
Extremely smoky. tobacco, but a dry smoke, like a dried out chimney, a little bit ashy, with notes of the fruitiness. It's not really that sweet, but it has notes of fruitiness all around.
And then I find it's got quite a long finish. I think it's you're tasting it and enjoying it even after I took a smoke.
It's quite unusual taste. I don't have many whiskies with that kind of profile. I can't remember one off the top of my head. So I would say this is really an expert's whiskey. It's really complex. It's really unusual. It's interesting that it's just the 8-year-old. I'm really excited about what you have in, like, I don't know, let's say 6 years or something.
Yeah. No, it's really for us. I mean, with only this is our oldest peated, so we're still learning and understanding what it can do over time.
I mean, you do have. I mean, it's not a non-age statement. It's an 8-year-old, and you realize it's well out of its youth. It's well out of its youth.
It's well out of its youth, but it's my task is always how far can I push it, and to see if as it ages, am I going to get more of the flavour, other flavours coming in? Is the dryness going to become too much as the wood and the?
What I like is that it's really it tastes from the strength of the peat. Tastes like a 40, 45, 50 ppm one. So, but it's far away from RyeLaw as it can. It's really mainland peat, highland peat, a little bit of a sweet note to the peat and the tobacco and the hay and the grasses, herbs kind of
herbaceous,
thing. So really nice highland peated. I like it. And fully with no sulfur in it as well.
Yep. And then, so for this one here, as I said, it spent 4 years in ex-bourbon cask and 4 years in Amontillado. And that was the direction of travel that we were going for from the beginning.
So what's in the future? What can we expect? How do you want to because these two are core range, right?
Yes.
And these two are annual releases.
They're annual releases. What we're trying to do is see where we fit with the rye. You know, what can I do? Have I reached the magic sweet spot? What we've done is subsequent years we've used different wood from different regions of America. Again, trying to understand what one's given me the best influence and best interaction. So I've got a few more years of trying to bring together what we've laid down to we define what I'm comfortable and happy with as being InchDairnie rye whiskey. Because at the moment we're still learning where we're going.
But is there going to be a InchDairnie core range coming at some point of time?
Yes. So I've been here 11 years, as we said.
You still need some time?
We've been distilling the InchDairnie single malt liquid since 2016. So as we speak, I have some 10-year-old spirit.
Okay.
So what I'm looking to do is I'm trying to bring together the distillate from the different seasonal of production into a single product. So I'm looking towards doing something that can be released in 2027 next year.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So you'll just have to watch this space as people say.
I mean, for whiskey, it's just a blink of an eye, I would say. Usually it's like, we still need 2 decades.
And we're fortunate that we've been allowed to let it go. You know, your first releases of your single malt have been 10 years old. No, we've been allowed to do that.
Oh, that's really nice.
But okay, so the last dram here is with the Kinglassie. 4 years in ex-bourbon and 4 years in Amontillado. But we didn't put all of the original distillate into the Amontillado. We kept some of it into the original ex-bourbon. And when we were getting good positive feedback from people for this one here, we know I'm a whiskey drinker, and I know that there's whiskey drinkers. When you say it's a peated whiskey, there's an expectation of what that peated whiskey is. So this is the flip side to the sweetness of this one here. So
Okay.
So that's why it's called raw. And it just spent 8 years ex-bourbon cask, so there's no hiding.
That's a bit lighter.
It is
But
lighter.
it has the same age, but just minus the Amontillado.
That's it. That's exact.
Okay.
That's the only
So
difference.
this is more, as you say, raw. It's more towards the distillery character.
More towards the distillery character, and just showcasing what it can do. The Amontillado was pulling down some of the intensity of the peatiness in the nose and in the taste. So this one here, there's nothing holding it back. This is, as you said, the distillate. So see if you on the nose.
Oh, it's a lot. Oh, this is one of the lighty, grassy, but it's the same. It's also what's it called, a winter distillate.
Yep. This is the exact same distillate. All it is some of it went into the Amontillado and some of it got kept. So again, you're not getting that indication that there's peatiness to it. I get some small amount of fruit coming through, but there's nothing to suggest of what it is.
It's strange that it hides the smokiness so well, because you do get a bit of fruit. It's a light, nice, feels a little bit like bourbon cask matured whiskey, 8-year-old, just as you expect, with a little bit of a smoky side. And I guess I'm gonna get hit by the smoke again, huh?
Yeah. So
Prost. What a huge difference. What a huge difference it makes with the nuances on the side. This is much more fresh, much more on the smoke, and you feel a good amount of pepperiness.
yes.
So this one, I would say, yes, it does have the spiciness that we had with the winter distillate. I like it.
So
I like it,
so-
but
so- so
it's
this is-
totally different to 4 years Amontillado.
Yep. And that just shows you what the 4 years in Amontillado does. So for me, this is, if somebody who says that they're a peated whiskey drinker, this is more in line with what they're expecting. Maybe because there's other distilleries who do the Highland peat, but it's probably more showcasing that expectation. But with a subtle twist in that the peatiness is not heaviness. There's a lightness to it. It's more smoke than it is the phenolics that you usually associate with it. There is an element of dryness, but not as dry as you sometimes get for RyeLaw peated whiskey. So it was just good to show that, again, the differences in wood having an impact on each of the products.
Yeah, the thing is, I think I've said it about 20 times now, is about 60 to 70% is maturation of the flavor. Depends on what you do. If you have a rye, then probably less. If you have something, a weak distillate, then probably more.
I'm still of the opinion it's 50-50.
50-50. Yeah, if you do a rye, then it's probably 50-50. Yeah. So one thing that I actually forgot the whole video, was there a king named Lassie, or is it Kinglassie?
So it's Kinglassie.
Kinglassie.
So Kinglassie is a small village which is just 2 miles off the. We name our brands in the surrounding location. So RyeLaw is a farm that's about a mile that way.
Oh, I thought it was a play on it's a rye and it's against the law to call it the malt or something like that.
You could say that, but it was a means of getting rye in the name. So by naming it after RyeLaw Farm,
RyeLaw Farm,
so,
cool.
so you know what it is. It's a rye whiskey from rye called RyeLaw.
Nice. So I think we're through. So thank you very much for having us here at the distillery.
Thank you very much for
It was
coming.
lovely meeting you and the whole staff around the distillery.
No, thank you very much. And as I said, next year we'll start to see the InchDairnie single malt coming out. So you need to come back again and we can talk all about it.
Yeah. And I think, so for everybody who is watching this and got a little bit interested, I think we have 3 of them online at Whisky.de and Whisky.com. And I think you're opening to visitors at some point.
Yeah, we're planning that in the summer we'll open up to visitors.
So if you're planning to go to the Lowlands or to Edinburgh or somewhere, Glasgow, then have a look if they're open and book your tour. And yeah, thank you very much for watching and see you next time.